Hi, babe. Hi, babe. Do you get it a lot?
As long as I'm not like Chal Bae and they're like hi bae, then it's fine. I love being famous. My dad always says that if you're walking somewhere and people don't come up to you, you'll be so sad and so upset because you work for this. And I was 19 when I was properly on set. Tiger would literally move me between shots and be like, listen, you need to take your light. When I used to act, I used to hold back a lot because I used to be very scared of judgment.
Growing up, seeing the lights of the Khans or the Bachchans of the world.
Okay, this is what it's like to be an actor, just stand in front of your house and millions of people just come and wait for you, but he's rare and he's one of a kind. No matter how big he is as a star, he's always, home with his kids. That's what I always saw as success.
You were the first amongst your friend circle to make your debut.
I feel like they're so well prepared, they've done all their classes, they're singing, they're dancing, they're acting, their action training, they know how to deal with the media, they've already been tapped so many times. She's the first female superstar that I worked with. She's like a party starter. In that moment, I was like, okay, this is the way to conduct myself. Call Me Bae, it's such a self-aware show about privilege, It's like, okay, now come, let's go have fun with it. And I love that. I just love being in love. I love old school, proper, hardcore, belonging to one person sort of relationship.
What does the ideal partner look like for you?
People are aware of Sohana, Shania, Navya, that's one group of mine. I'm calling them for my screenings. They're like, no, we can't come, we have work, we'll watch it at home.
The industry, when you look at, say, sexualization, if somebody offered you an item number, would you not consider?
When I saw Sharvari in the song Taras, if she's not being overtly sexualized, if she's not being respected, then I wouldn't do it. There are ways to be sexy but not to be, sexualized and objectified.
If a partner ended things,
not be okay with it for sure. Be like, what the hell is going on?
Hi, babe.
Hi. I feel like I should also say hi, babe. Hi, babe.
Do you get it a lot?
Now I do, which is a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Yeah, I like it. It's a loving word also, so it works well.
It's cute.
Yeah. As long as I'm not like Chal Bae and they're like hi bae, then it's fine. Yeah.
So tell me, from your first day on Student of the Year as a 17-year-old.
Oh my God, you're really throwing it back.
Yeah, but to now and being Bae, how has it shifted for you, right? Like how you see yourself, not just as an actor, but as a person, because basically you can map your transition like most people can't on camera.
It's I actually watched Student of the Year 2 again 3 days ago because I was showing a friend of mine who hadn't watched it. So I was showing it to them and I was like, oh my God, it doesn't even feel like me. It feels like a different person. I was 18 when the film was starting, but 19 when I was properly on set shooting Student of the Year, and I didn't know anything about films at that time. Even though my dad's an actor, I hadn't been on set as much growing up, so I didn't know different camera angles. I didn't know that you have to take many takes to shoot something. I thought, yeah, you do it once, they'll capture it, there'll be a camera somewhere and they'll get it and that's it, that's done. And Tiger, I've said this so many times, but Tiger would literally move me between shots and be like, listen, you need to take your light, you need to, hit your mark, you need to say your dialogues a certain way, because acting on camera and theatre acting is very, very different.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest change that I felt on Call Me Bae. I felt very technically sound, and I was realizing these things on that set, because with TV shows and with series, the working hours are slightly longer and stuff, and you have to get through so many episodes. You're literally doing 8 scripts in the amount of time you would do one script. So you have to be on it technically, and that was a shift that I felt like, okay, now I'm very aware and it's become almost second nature and it's become part of my skin to act for the camera. And I think I'm a lot more confident, and I don't mean that in a way in terms of I think I'm doing a good job, confidence, and in terms of I just feel easier now in front of the camera. I'm not that conscious, I'm not that, first I used to, when I used to act, I used to hold back a lot because I used to be very scared of judgment. I used to be like, okay, if I do this, then people will not think it's good. So I used to hold back. I used to protect myself a little bit. But a change that's especially happened in Call Me Bae is I think I'm less inhibited as an actor, because when you're doing comedy, I was doing comedy for the first time, you can't be inhibited. You can't hold back. You have to make mistakes, look as silly as possible and try to do something different. And that's when you get the best results. So I think confidence is also coming out,
So this is from your actor self, right?
Yeah.
What about Ananya? Just Ananya, who goes back home and isn't on a set and started off very young in her formative years, where especially judgment, like you said, is consuming. Like, when you're in school or in college, and people in your college look at you in a certain way or pass certain comments.
Yeah.
When you're in the public eye, that's like quadrupled.
Yeah.
Into millions.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
What about Ananya as a person?
I think as a person, not that much has changed. I definitely feel like I'm a lot stronger than I was before. Like first when I started out, the smallest of things used to affect me so much. Like I used to just cry and I used to be like not able to move on from things. I would keep going and reading even the smallest of things and just get very, very affected. But I think the person that I am today, I don't get affected by any sort of negativity or hate. But that could also not be good because I feel like I'm less affected by the good also now. Like when I started out, when someone praised me, I'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much, tell me more.
Yeah.
But now I think I'm just a little more neutral to everything.
Like you're more centered.
Yeah, I'm more centered. I'm not too swayed by like success or failure. Yeah.
And that's a good place to be.
I hope so.
So when we talk about success, right, you were exposed to it in a very emphatic sense from your childhood, like growing up, of course, within the film industry, whether it's seeing the lights of the Khans or the Bachchans of the world. What did success mean to you as you were growing up, and how has that evolved to what it means to you today?
I mean, when you talk about success and the people that I've seen around me growing up, you named it yourself, seeing Shah Rukh Khan, that was what I was like, okay, this is what it's like to be an actor, just stand in front of your house and millions of people just come and wait for you, but he's rare and he's one of a kind. And, for me, I think if I actually speak about just him, because growing up, that was, how we saw actors and stuff, I think what I saw as success, which has actually stayed with me, is success being balanced between your, career and your family life. Because if you take Shah Rukh, so for example, he's someone who's been amazing with that. No matter how big he is as a star, he's always, home with his kids and taking care of not just his kids, but us also. He's, been around us so much growing up. And that's what I always saw as success. That, okay, you can be so busy, you can be running around, everyone's running behind you, but you're coming back home and you have a very sorted, healthy, balanced personal life. And I think that's how I measure success today also. You don't have to pick between your personal life and your professional life.
Yeah.
You have to, because if you're unhappy in one sector, it's going to seep into the other sector no matter what, so you have to kind of try to find a balance. And for me, that is success. And it's always going to be success.
Yeah. Being able to basically balance the worlds.
Yeah.
Effectively.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about that, you were in a very unique position, right? You were the first amongst your friend circle to make your debut. So now there's two things there, right? Either you can look at it as, okay, I got the advantage. I began early. Beginning early is always considered a good thing. I began my career straight out of college. I've never done anything else except Humans of Bombay.
Same.
Yeah, my only job is this. Or you can look at it as, I was so young and didn't know the world of cinema and was just thrust into public opinion, so to speak. So walk me through that, right? Which way do you look at it?
A little bit of both. I do look back and I'm so grateful for the time that I started off because I feel like even the kind of movies that they were making at that time, I don't think that, if I was supposed to do my first film today, I don't know if it would have been the same film. I don't know if they're making films like Student of the Year 2 anymore. I felt like at that time, they were making films like that and the audience was going in to watch films like that. And I'm not talking specifically about Student of the Year, I'm talking about a specific time in cinema. It was very different. Post-pandemic, obviously so many things have changed. The preferences of the audience has changed. OTT has come in such a big way. So I really don't know what my first film would have been. But honestly, I really feel like everyone's journey is so different, I don't know where I would have been, what position I would have been in if I started much later. So I'm very happy with the time that I started in. I do feel like, when I see like people around me and I see my friends who are starting out at an age where they're 24, 25, I feel like they're so well prepared. They've done all their classes, they're singing, they're dancing, they're acting, they're action training, they know how to deal with the media, they've already been papped so many times. So they're already coming in, prepared and ready. which I'm like, okay, I did lack that when I started out. If I did have training in how to talk to the media, I could have avoided a lot of things. But then I don't feel like I would be the person or the actor I am today if I didn't have those things happen to me at the start or do the kind of films that I did. So I'm really happy where I am, in my career at this point. There's a long, long way to go. But I think as you said, you can look at it from both ways. And some days you feel like, oh, I wish I started off later. And some days you're like, no, thank God I started off at the time that I did.
I'm going to ask you a very Gen Z question. Okay. So have you looked at anything in the past that you've either said in an interview or on camera and cringed and been like, oh,
I feel like I watch this also and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm moving my hands
oh my
so
God,
much.
Don't put us in the,
No, you are amazing, but I cringe at myself all the time. Even when I think I've gotten a lot better with looking at myself on screen, but when I started out, even if someone was like watching a video of me on their phone, I would run out of the room. Like I couldn't hear my own voice, I couldn't see myself, I couldn't look at people seeing myself. I would be like freaking out. But now I think I've gotten better at doing that. But the first time I see myself, no matter what it is, be it an interview, in a film, in a song, I'm always like, what am I doing? I need to stop.
So it's so funny that you say that. You walked in and you said you were just watching my interview with Riya. I've not watched my own podcast ever.
Really?
So I actually don't know what it is.
No, you're very good.
I actually have no idea, and I totally relate to that because I'm just like, oh my God, why did I say that? Or like, I could have said this better. I guess it's just, it always happens.
Like in hindsight, I go and I'm having a bath and I'm like, I should have said that in the interview. That's such a good answer. But I feel like I'm changing so fast as a person.
Hi guys, I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Do let us know what you think down in the comments. We always read what you have to say. And on that note, I want to fill you in on something really exciting that we're building at Humans of Bombay. So you guys know, we've mastered the art of storytelling for the past 10 years. And you have trusted us to tell your story. So now it's time for us to empower you. So me, along with 5 other experts, have curated a course for just that, where you learn how to tell your story in different settings. So it's called How to Tell Your Story, and the course is live now. You can check it down below in the link or even on the pop-up here. And with that, let's get back to the podcast. But you especially have worked with like some of the biggest names, right? Like whether you consider Deepika Padukone or Zoya Akhtar. People you probably grew up being like, damn, I'd love to work with them someday. So talk to me about that experience. How did you hold your own? What have you learned from the people you've worked with?
Honestly, I learned something from everyone that I've worked with. As I spoke about Tiger in my very first film, I learned so much from him. With Deepika, as you said, I've idolized her growing up. She's the most beautiful woman ever. And more than anything on the surface, I think she's such a brave actor with the choices that she makes and also in the way she conducts herself on a set. That's something I've really learned from her because, she's the first like female superstar that I worked with. And I saw her on Gehraiyan, which is such a intimate film, a brave film, and she held her own. She was so clear about the way a set is run, the things she needs as an actor on a set. For example, I would find it very tough to say no to certain things, or I would, find it a little tough to raise my voice or like ask for silence or be like, listen, can you move from my eye line? I would think I'm being rude when I was doing that. But when I saw Deepika do it in such a nice, lovely way, ask for what she needs on a set to give the best that she can in that moment, I was like, okay, this is the way to conduct myself. This is the way to ask for what I want in the most respectful way possible. But you can, as a girl, you can step up and you can ask and you'll get what you want, if you do step up and speak about it. So yeah, that's what I learned from Deepika. And with Zoya, Luck by Chance has been my all-time favorite movie ever. Even today, if someone asks me what my favorite movie is, it's Luck by Chance because it was such a refreshing insight into how our industry is. It was a very realistic portrayal, And working with her was amazing. Like she's such an open, honest person and she doesn't judge people, She just takes you for what you are. She has no preconceived notions or judgments and that was really nice. So I've actually really lucked out very early on in my career to work with her, to work with Vikram Aditya Motwani sir, with Control that's coming now on Netflix on the 4th of October and with Shakun, and so many first-time directors also actually.
And I think it's just just what you said, right? Like being able to ask is such a big part of it on how you kind of position yourself, especially as a woman. Like, you know, with the roles that you've played, whether it's Geraya, Call Me Bae, Kho Gaye Humka, again, I really liked it because it was so real. I saw certain parts, you know, where like you would see the red messages or the following.
We've all been Ahana at some point.
Yeah, I'm like, it's so realistic.
Yeah.
So do you think you've made your niche? Obviously, you're moving from that with Control, which is a complete wild card. And like you said, like you're working with Vikramaditya Motwani and it's unexpected, right? It's not very Ananya-like. So where's your headspace at? Like, do you want to be comfortable in that niche because you've kind of nailed it and like see where that goes for a bit, or like you're just like, no, let me just do it all?
Yeah, I don't think I'm applying that much of a strategy. Maybe I should be, but I'm not honestly applying that much because I don't want to overthink it. You know, I don't want to just do a film because, you know, it's, oh, I have to fill in this box, okay, you know, I've not done this. I don't want to just do it because of that. Like, oh, I need to be massy, or I need to be like this, I need to be like that, because that's all the wrong reasons that you're doing a film for, you know. If I'm doing a film, I really want to connect to the character. I want to be dying to tell the story. Like, Kho Gaye Hum Kahan, I remember, for some reason, it wasn't happening for me. I think they were looking in a different direction, and I literally begged Arjun. I was like, please, I have to be a part of this film. I auditioned for him. I dressed up as the character and went and played football to just show him that I can be like, you know, one of the boys and one of the bros. So, you know, I want to feel that with every film that I'm a part of. Like, I just have to be a part of the story. And also working with like-minded people, Colin, Arjun, I've had the best time on these sets, and just, you know, you have to be excited to go and work every single day. So I'm not strategizing it too much in terms of like, oh, my career needs to be like this, or to be successful, you have to do this, because in the time that we are today, honestly, no one really knows
at all
what's working, you know. I think you just have to be a part of cinema that you really believe in.
Yeah. Also, do you think, like, with some of these roles, right, you've embraced a certain part of you that's been spoken about in real life, right? Which is like, say, oh, privileged girl, or the N word that I just don't want to take. Do you think that you're kind of owning it? Because I know you're playing a part, but you know, it seems kind of refreshing to just see it like, okay, yeah, this is what I am.
Yeah, I think specifically if you talk about Call Me Bae, I mean, I didn't do it because of that reason, but actually the script in general has such a meta quality to it. It's such a self-aware show about privilege, you know. It's owning it, and it's, you know, addressing it right on, you know, at the start. And then it's like, okay, now come, let's go have fun with it. And I love that. I don't feel like we do enough of that. You know, there was a lot of cultural references in the show. And I, as an audience, love watching stuff like that. In hindsight now, when I'm doing interviews, people are like, oh, but you know, that's so similar to you. I didn't think of it when I was doing it, because honestly, Bae has been one of the toughest characters to play, because she's so high on energy. If you watch the show, she's constantly on. She's saying like 100 dialogues a minute. Her expressions are, you know, even if she's not talking in a scene, she's doing something on her own in the background, you know. And yeah, just comedy, getting the timing right, trying to find a human side and an emotional side in someone who seems so fluffy on the surface. There was so much of that going on with that character. And honestly, just headlining a show, you know, it's a really big deal, and I'm very grateful to have that opportunity. I'm very grateful that that happened so early on, because it taught me a lot about responsibility and, you know, kind of just owning that.
And it's all over, by the way. So I've seen like a million stories on my Instagram being like,
but it's so
watching
lovely.
this on Friday, this, you know, this scene, that scene, and I just think it's amazing.
You know, I always wanted to have a character that, you know, girls dressed up like, or people were saying her dialogues, or like, you know,
very Emily in Paris vibe.
Yeah. You know, like characters that I've loved. Like, I would say Poo's dialogues, and I would dress up like her. And I'm not comparing Bae and Poo. Like, Poo is the icon and the benchmark and the legend when it comes to that. But, you know, to just have like a small part of that, where it's so refreshing and it's so nice for me to see, you know, young girls come up and be like, we love Bae, and you know, she's like us, and she gave us confidence to be ourselves, and you know, we are doing her affirmations, and we are dressing like her. So I think it's really sweet.
Yeah. So when you think of the industry, right, it's obviously moving in ways that actually no one
can explain.
So like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Also, just so much about this industry is spoken about by default, right? my job may not be as exciting to millions of people out there, but your job, unfortunately, which you do, or fortunately, which you do, is just, I want to know, right? So there's a double-edged sword with fame, especially. So what do you think of fame, the industry as a whole? What do you think of people who are, they want to stay relevant? That's the truth of the matter, right? Like in the span of time, people have come and gone. There are few people who have stayed, and then there are few people who make themselves relevant. So what is your opinion on like just this large canvas?
I think honestly, it's what you want and it's what you choose for yourself. You know, there are people who are chasing fame. There are people who are chasing just staying relevant in the moment. There are people who just want to get the best at their craft, and I feel like it's also okay to change your priorities at a certain time. You know, I think when I started out and when I was younger, I just wanted to be famous. I wanted to be an actress. I wanted to see myself on the big screen. That was it. That's all I wanted. And when I started actually working, I was like, I don't think I want just that. You know, for me now, my priority is being the best possible actor that I can be, you know, getting the best at my craft. So I think people have different priorities, and it's okay at different points in your life for those priorities to change also. You know, I love being famous. I love being in the position that I am. I love being recognized, because my dad always says that, you know, if you're walking somewhere and people don't come up to you, you'll be so sad and so upset, because you work for this. You work for the audience's love and their appreciation. And for me, fame is that. You know, fame is not just being seen. It's being loved by that many people. I like it in the most tangible term when I can see the returns of that, when I can see impact that my work has on people, or when I can actually see people come up to me and talk about my work. So that's the way I kind of see fame. And I think I'm a lot more protective about my personal life than I was when I started out.
Of course, Also because you've evolved. Like when Student of the Year 2 came out as to now, it's like moved.
Yeah,
right,
and also I feel like I'm growing up as a person also. Like 18-year-old Ananya was very different from 25-year-old Ananya. Like I still am very open. Like if you ask me a question, I'll tell you everything. I'm not very good at lying, honestly. But I think I'm a little more protective. I wouldn't say like secretive or sly. I would say protective.
Guarded,
Guarded,
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
A lot of people also talk about the illusion of stardom, right? Like, this is great. Like, you'll see Ananya and getting papped and being like, that's amazing. I want to be her.
Yeah.
But what is a reality check? Like, what is a fact check where you're like, it's kind of very different on the offset?
I mean, just, it's, I don't know how to explain it, but I think it's just this part that's probably the most glamorous part, you know, getting ready and like going to red carpets and interviews, that sort of stuff. And it's a very small part of, I think, there are days where you're just doing nothing and you're just waiting around, like waiting for a release or waiting for shoot, just waiting, you know, and it seems all, it is glamorous also, there is a part of it, but then there's also long hours, there's sacrifices, which is there in every job. But yeah, I think the best that I can do is just be as real as possible. Like if I'm looking a certain way, then also the next day you see me at the airport, I'm roaming in my chashma and a sweatshirt and my hair is all oily. So I do try to keep it as real as possible, and I voice it as much as I can. You know, I tell people that no, this took me 2 hours to look like this. These are not my own clothes.
They're sourced.
They're sourced. I have to give them back after the shoot. So yeah, I think just keeping it real as much as possible and trying to show people what I do when I'm not shooting, which is a lot. The time. Yeah.
Talk to me a little bit about the industry when you look at, say, sexualization and the concept of, say, men and women both, in both contexts. You know, there's certain things attached, right? Like when you look at an item number, heavy debates on what that does to society. And one can argue that it's art. It's a form of art. I'm doing my job. And the other argument is, but that leads to a certain culture in a place like India where you know the kind of conversations that are going on. So what is your take on it, and how do you feel about?
You know, it's such a difficult thing to answer this question because, you know, I feel like our country is very impressionable, and I can actually just speak for myself because I am very easily impressioned. You know, when I watch cinema, I'm like, oh, I wish my life was like this, and I was a part of this, and I want to be like this, or I want someone else to be like this. You get impressioned very easily. So I think as creative people and as filmmakers and actors, we have to be aware of the stuff that we're putting out there. But then at the end of the day, also it's entertainment. You know, you have to look at it as entertainment. I think the problem lies in glorification of something. If there's a bad guy and he's paying for his sins and paying for something bad, then I feel like, okay, that's more real to life, and that's, people should learn some sort of lesson from that. You know, we're not here to give a morality class, but you know, that would probably make more sense to watch on screen. But if the bad guy is just getting away with everything, then that does, you know, kind of leave an impression on certain people.
You can do it too.
Yeah, exactly. But it's a very thin line again, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm also an audience who likes to go and kind of leave my brain at home. Yeah. I hate that saying because you can't detach it from your body. And I do like going and watching cinema and just seeing it as that. But I think we just have to be aware because we have a position where we have so much responsibility, you know, where millions of people all over the world are watching what you put out there. So you just have to be responsible and aware of the kind of impression you're leaving on people.
So say today, if somebody offered you an item number, would you not consider, like, where you at in that conversation?
I feel like there are ways in which you can do it. You know, if I feel like the girl is being empowered through the song, if she has control, if she's not being overtly sexualized, if she's not being respected, then I wouldn't do it. You know, it has to be seen from the other perspective where maybe the girl is in control. There are lots of ways where you can play around with things. You know, everything doesn't have to be done in the way that it's been done since so many years. You know, there are ways now that you can change things around. You can kind of turn it around. There are ways to be sexy, but not to be, you know, sexualized and objectified. So yeah, I think there's a difference between that, and it's about just switching the control to the girl instead of the man. And either way, like vice versa, the same thing happens with men also. You know, you make them take their shirts off, and they are also being objectified. So
all the time.
So I think it's where the power and the control lies, which is more important.
Yeah, there is that fine line that you have to kind of find. Okay. Let's talk about love, relationships. You come from having watched like a real life Bollywood film pretty much with your parents, and how that love that love is. By the way, I really want to interview them on that aspect specifically because it's just so refreshing, and I think must watch. So you've grown up with that, and now as we've evolved, unfortunately, there are so many different terms attached, right? There's situationships, there's ghosting, there's like 100 different names.
Lost count.
I don't even know what that means. Like, I'm like, I don't know, right? So how are you maneuvering that?
I'm very old school when it comes to that. You know, as you said, I've seen my parents love, and that's the way I've set my benchmark also for myself. I just love being in love. I love old school, proper, hardcore, belonging to one person sort of relationships. That's the way I look at it. But I'm also very non-judgmental of the way people conduct their relationships around me. I don't understand a lot of it now, but as you said, with the terms, I'm like, but
what does it mean?
What does it mean? But yeah, I don't think it's for me. I think I'm like an old school lover.
And how do you deal with, say, the heartbreaks or things which, you know, sometimes, not even heartbreaks, like, you know, there are so many things where, say, there's a fight, but unlike most people, you have to go in front of a camera.
I know.
Which is like, I can't be in my pajamas in my room. I have to show up. There's lots of money riding on each day. How do you kind of...
Honestly, it saves me, my work, when it comes to that, because I actually have the liberty to be able to switch off for like 12 hours, you know. Who gets to do that? I get to just become another person and not deal with Ananya's problems. So it's happened so many times that I'm just like, dealing with something and crying in my van, and then suddenly they're like, shots ready, and I'm like, okay, time to be Bae or time to be someone else. So it actually saves me. So I'm very lucky that I have an escape. But then after 12 hours, you have to come and deal with even more of the drama. But for those 12 hours, I'm fine.
But 12 hours is a good time.
It's a great time.
Take it. So what does the ideal partner look like for you?
You know, it's changed so much over time, but what I've realized is stayed consistent is someone who can be my friend above everything else, because that's what I've seen with my parents, you know. I read somewhere that it's not the way you love someone, but it's the way that you are when you're fighting with someone. It's the way you treat someone in a fight. You know, when you're fighting with your partner, it shouldn't feel like the end of the world. You can't lose respect for them. You have to still respect your partner, and they have to respect you back. Because it shouldn't feel like the end of the world. It shouldn't, like, you know, when you're young, you think love has to be this passionate, sweep you off your feet, make you go crazy sort of love. But the older that I'm getting, I'm just like, listen, I just want to chill and calm down. I don't want any drama. I just want to like stay you know, even if people call it boring and you want to just stay in and not deal with the drama, I think for me that's what it is right now.
The boring love.
Yeah, it's about the consistent kind of love, you know, the everyday, in the monotony when you can find love, and just someone being your friend. And, you know, as a young actress, you know, who's making her own money, who's financially independent, you know, who's doing reasonably well for herself, I really need someone who can accept that and support me. You know, I don't want there to be any comparisons. I don't want them to feel like me shining makes them any less. So there's all of that stuff also. And yeah, just like respect and love and friendship, and someone who can make you laugh.
When you talk about that, right, like being Ananya Panday, a lot of people want to be associated with you, either on the friend level, another level, because of Ananya the actress. It's called clout chasing or cloud chasing, which I have just been introduced to today by my very Gen Z team who were like, say this. So I was like, okay, I will say it. How do you recognize what's real? And this is not specific to relationships, it's just all kinds of relationships, right?
Yeah, I think firstly, I think all of my actual friends and my best friends are the same friends that I've had since I was like 3 or 4, you know. If it's, you know, people are aware of Sohana, Shania, Navya, that's one group of mine. But my school friends, you know, I was in the same school for like 14 years of my life. And my friends who were my friends since I was in lower KG are still my friends today. And they have nothing to do with the film industry. And they treat me the same, they keep it real with me. They're not, I'm calling them for my screenings, they're like, no, we can't come, we have work, we'll watch it at home. So they're really not like, you know, swayed or flattered by this life at all, which is what I would call home and what I go back to, and that's my safe space, and those are my friends, you know. And I think I'm a very real person. I'm someone who calls out bullshit. If I don't like something about someone, I'll say it, you know, on their face. So I make it very obvious. So I'm a very big vibe sensor, and I'm also very honest. So if like someone is being fake with me or only trying to be my friend for some other reason, I can see it, and I also make it very obvious that, listen, like, this is my line and this is not a real sort of friendship. So rather than me also being fake back and this, that and stuff, I think I'm just more of like, I draw a line, I keep it real, But it was very different when I started. Like when I started, I used to think everyone's my best friend. Like after this interview, I'd be like, oh my God, you know, Karishma and I are so close. We've spoken about everything. I think now I've learned my lesson the hard way.
Like it takes time to build on relationships that are real, at least, in that context. You just spoke about friends that you've been in the film industry since you were 3 or 4, Sohana, Shania. How has the female friendship evolved from there to now? Actually, you can't say directly competing, but of course you're in the same industry. Of course there is a Friday release and everybody's acting, right? Everybody's coming out with their own releases. How has that friendship evolved? Because I'm a huge believer in healthy competition. I love when my girls are like, I'm like, oh damn, okay, I need to step up.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's how I feel as well. You know, when I see performances and I see people working, I'm like, you know, like when I saw Sharvari in the song Taras and how she was in Munja, I thought she was amazing. And I think that, you know, I was like inspired to do, you know, to do something myself also, you know. I'm like, okay, you know, she's dancing so well, I also need to kill it in my next song, which is healthy, and that's good competition to have. And when it comes to Sohana, Shania, you know, we've been friends since like I used to sleep on Shania's mom's belly when Shania was like in her tummy, you know. So I've known Shania since before she was born, honestly. So they're family to me, and for me, where we are at right now, I think it just feels really nice because it's like they understand me better than anyone else, because we're also working now, and when I'm talking about a certain thing that happened at shoot, or I'm like, oh, you know, this is happening, that's happening, more than anyone else, they get me.
Of course.
And we actually talk about work very less compared to how much we talk about other things. But yeah, it's good to have female allies all the time, you know. It's good to have someone that you can share your intel with, and people who are always supporting you. So I'm all for female friendships. Yeah, I'm a girl's girl.
Of course.
Yeah.
So tell me, in the growing up context, right? We've grown up in the social media age, you more predominantly, where there's social media as a huge chunk of everything that we do. But it comes with a alienating feeling sometimes, right? Like you have millions of followers, but then it's like all of these different layers, right? Like what's real, what's not? Is it going somewhere, is it not? In different contexts. Does it ever get lonely?
Yeah, I think there's a big difference in being alone and feeling lonely. I used to be really scared to be alone before. I would always need people around me. I've lived with my parents my whole life, so there was always something on the other happening. I would not deal with my own thoughts. If I was feeling something, I'd just go and sit in my mom's room and be like, Mom, what's happening? But now that, I'm living alone, and the more I'm growing up, I'm like, no, I need to be alone. It's okay to even feel lonely sometimes, because I need to deal with all sorts of emotions. When you're lonely, you realize so many things. You see what's real, what's not real. You get much more of a perspective when that happens. So I think it's an emotion that you do have to go through. Yeah, it's also very jarring. Like, you'll come from like an event where you're meeting like thousands of people, and suddenly you're alone in the car and you're just like, what do I do with myself? What do I do with my thoughts? But I think it's something that you just have to feel, and you have to go through it as well.
So did the moving out into your own space, which looks lovely on Instagram, by the way, happen as a byproduct of this evolution, right? Like that, of course, everybody gets it. You obviously want your space because of the life that you lead, but also from this context.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, more than anything, it was to kind of develop my own personality, that I needed to kind of move away, because I'm very reliant on my parents. I'm still very, very reliant on my parents for like the smallest of things. If I want to even like eat a burger, I call my mom. I'm like, do you think I should eat the burger? Should I not? So and I like it being like that. I like being close to my parents. I'm very lucky to have that sort of relationship with them. But I kind of needed to develop my own personality. I needed to know what I like, what I don't like, how I am dealing with every sort of situation on my own without being shielded or protected by my parents. Like, they'll always be there, but I think having that physical distance, even though it's just a few floors away from them, it makes a big difference.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when you just spoke about that, right, you've said this, that I want to establish my identity not just as a star kid.
Yeah.
What is that identity for you?
I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. And I think I'm figuring it out every day. Yeah, I really don't know what the identity is. I think just being a kind and a good person right now is very important, to kind of put out the energy in the world that I want from people. I think that rather than wanting, how you said sometimes, what do you want in an ideal partner? I think sometimes I'm like, I have to be my own ideal partner, and I have to be that for, someone else, rather than trying to find it so much, to have those qualities in myself only. I think that's important, to just be a kind person and to make it a little easier for other people in the world. Yeah.
So what has been your biggest learning in this time that you've gotten now? The distance sometimes teaches you. I mean, not to say that you're distant from your parents, just the space, right?
Yeah. What has it taught me? I think it's taught me that everything passes eventually. In the moment, everything seems hectic, and sometimes when there's so many voices around you, things get even more hectic. But everything changes. Like, nothing lasts forever. I think that, And you're supposed to feel everything. I think as a human being, you're supposed to go through all kinds of experiences and phases and moods. And it's okay if someone else isn't feeling the exact same way as you about a certain situation, but that shouldn't change the way you feel about a certain situation.
Or the way you look at yourself.
Yeah.
I think that's the hardest part, right? Because if other people are saying things, or you're looking at yourself from their eyes, your perception of you is more important in that larger context, is what I've come to. Okay, we have a cute fun section. It's called Bae versus Ananya. So, how would they handle it differently? Okay, so I'm going to give you like fun scenarios. And how would the reactions be different? If a partner ended things over a phone call?
I think Ananya would not be okay with it for sure, and she would kind of just like want to get an answer, or just be like, what the hell is going on? I think Bae would just like put on an outfit and just go to some party and like show them what they're missing out.
If you spill coffee on your outfit right before you headed for a red carpet event?
I think Ananya would like freak the hell out, and she would be like, I'm not going. And Bae would make it a part of her outfit. She'd like make it the new print of the season or something.
If someone left several mean comments on your latest Instagram post?
I think Bae and Ananya both would just not care. That's something maybe we have. Or Bae would be so nice to them, she'd go and like send them flowers, or be like, what is wrong in your life? Ananya would just like ignore.
If you entered a party wearing the exact same outfit as someone else?
Ananya would, I think this also, Bae and Ananya would do the same thing. I think we just take a picture and be like twins or something. Yeah.
Just own it.
Yeah, own
in
it.
the moment.
Yeah.
Amazing. If an Instagram live got awkward,
Ananya would freeze and just like pretend like there's some technical glitch and then just like go off and be like, my phone's dead, I've shifted countries. Bae would, I don't think Bae gets awkward.
She's got it.
She'll have some quote or affirmation, or she'll have done some course in public speaking or something, like the 100 courses she's done. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go to favorite memories.
Okay.
With your girls.
Okay. Yeah. Fine. Oh, that's a question. Oh, I thought it was I was like, she's like, that's so funny. I thought you were going to be like, favorite something.
No, like what's your happiest favorite memory with your girls?
I mean, it's constant. I think any day that I spend with them, but like last week, Navya and I were hanging, and then suddenly at like 5 in the morning, we started having like a Disney concert, and we started playing all these like old camp rock and Hannah Montana songs and everything. So I think just dancing with them, like we have the most fun because we all know the hook steps of every song and we all have different levels of it. Like Navya is like the pro, like she's like the choreographer, she does, and she's a very serious face when she's doing all the dance steps. I know the dance steps, I'm not very good at it. Shanaya's only doing Sheila Ki Jawani in any song that's playing, and Sohana's just doing this all the time. So we're all at different levels, but like I think dancing with them is my most fun.
Yeah. Your favorite memory with your dad?
My favorite, I really love watching cricket matches with my dad because I feel like it's something that's very specific to him and I, you know. My mum and my sister are not interested in watching it. So my dad and I really get into it and we like really enjoy watching cricket together. Yeah. And also maybe when he taught me how to swim, even though I don't remember it, but I remember I was just like 2 or 1 and he just chucked me in the pool because he loves swimming. He swims every single day and he was like, sink or swim, and that kind of taught me how to swim. And that kind of is also my attitude towards life. Thanks to him.
Your favorite memory with Shah Rukh Khan?
With Shah Rukh, so my favorite memory would be IPL related memories. You know, he used to take us as his good luck charm. And also he taught me how to like run for every like relay race of mine or every sports day. He was really there cheering us on. He used to be like our taekwondo coach. He literally taught me how to ride a bike. We used to play football with him. So I think he's really been he's taught me a lot.
A lot of activities. Outdoor.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. And also I think playing board games with him because he loves playing like mind games and articulate and like all these games. So yeah, playing board games with him maybe.
Your favorite behind the scene memory with Deepika Padukone?
My favorite BTS memory with Deepika would be, I mean, she's like a party starter. Like, you know, she's like, and she's great at ordering food. I think going to any restaurant with Deepika, we were shooting in Goa for a lot of the time and she would just have the food sorted all the time. She would just look at the menu and she would just order like the best thing, so food. And also going to our house on Christmas, we had Christmas dinner at our house, but there was South Indian food. So I think just having like the papadam and stuff at our house, she has the best South Indian food at our house.
Okay, that's amazing. Brings us to our last question.
Okay.
You seem very perfect, right? To so many millions of people who follow you, the perfect life, of course, at 25 and ticking all boxes. Of course, like you mentioned, the reality is very different.
Yeah.
But tell me, how are you viewing life now and a few years into the future? Like, what do you want for yourself?
I want to be the best at what I do, for sure. Being good at my craft is something that was very important to me, but it's become even more important to me with passing time because I felt a difference, you know, in the industry with the work that I'm doing now, the way people are reacting to it. It's very validating and it's very gratifying when people appreciate your work or they like your work and they want to work with you. So I think just getting better at my craft and just challenging myself, doing different roles, creating something that will be remembered many years down the line. You know, I don't want just momentary fame. I want to create a long-term impact, and not just in cinema. I think just in a way of life also, even if that's with So Positive and what I started with that, with, you know, digital social responsibility. So in any way, just creating an impact that will stay years beyond me also. And I think stability is something that I'm gravitating towards, you know. The more I'm growing up, I'm kind of, I wouldn't say done, but I'm kind of bored with the fast life and the just going out all the time, being seen all the time. I think I just want stability now. And yeah, like hopefully not soon, but in the near future, having my own family and like, yeah, I'm since I was a kid, I wanted to get married and have a kid and everything. So I'm really like excited and curious for, even though I know there is some time for that, I'm very curious to see how I am in that part of my life.
How it pans out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I have a plan, but like nothing goes according to plan, but I have a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're all very curious to see where it goes.
Thank you.
But it's been so lovely.
Same
and you're
here.
amazing and you're a force. And I'm rooting for you.
Thank you.
And it's all going to go amazingly well.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon. Thank you all for being the best community, and I'll see you soon.